You ever watch a man hover around you like a house cat pretending it's a lion? That's the modern male courtship ritual. Hesitation dressed up as politeness. Desire disguised behind a smile so harmless, it practically apologizes for existing. Every day, I get women asking the same trembling question. Does he like me? Or is he just being nice? And every day, I wonder how the hell we got here. When did women become the ones decoding male behavior like intelligence analysts studying a blurry satellite photo of an enemy missile site? But that's exactly what this video is about. And trust me, by the time I'm done with you, you won't just know whether he likes you. You'll see the entire chessboard he thought he was hiding. Now, if you're new here, buckle up, because this isn't one of those chirpy, feel-good love advice videos where someone tells you to trust your heart and love is simple. Love is never simple. Humans are never simple. If people were simple, I would be out of business, and half of you wouldn't be obsessed with trying to read the emotional braille of a man who can't even decide if he wants sparkling or still water. What I'm about to do is tear apart the layers of male behavior until you see the muscles and bone underneath. Not because I'm trying to shock you, but because truth looks a little monstrous when you haven't seen it before. Let's start with the hook that should have smacked you in the mouth years ago. Most men are cowards. Not dangerous cowards. That would require competence. But soft, passive, conflict-averse creatures who will smile at you, laugh at your jokes, and hold the door open without having the slightest intention of risking anything meaningful. Their niceness is not affection. It's camouflage. A shield. A polite little mask that says, please don't reject me, because I wasn't brave enough to try anything in the first place. There. That's the truth. Welcome to the game. You're finally awake. When I was younger, back before life decided to twist itself into something surreal, and before I found myself coaching women for a living, I spent years as a pimp. Yes, you heard that right. Life is funny like that. Life loves irony, the way a cat loves a dying mouse. And back then, watching men behave around women was one of my greatest amusements. They'd strut. They'd preen. They'd act like swagger was a skill. But put them in front of a woman they actually liked, and suddenly they were docile little puppies wagging their metaphorical tails, terrified of being seen as too bold or too ordinary, or too anything at all. That's how I learned that niceness meant nothing. It was just another scent in the air. Don't get me wrong. A man who likes you will be nice to you. Any fool can do that much. But a man who is only nice to you is playing the oldest con on earth. Plausible deniability. He wants to maintain the illusion that he might be interested without ever putting himself in a position where you can reject him. That's why so many women think men are subtle. They're not subtle. They're just scared. There's actual research to prove this, by the way. A study published in Psychological Science found that men routinely misinterpret their own friendliness toward women as not flirting, even when physiological markers, yes, the biological responses they couldn't hide even if they wanted to, indicated attraction. In other words, he might actually want you, but his brain prefers to file the behavior under being nice to protect him from risk. It's like his own biology is laughing at him. So let's get into the real question. How do you tell if a man likes you, or if he's just playing the role of the decent human male, a role half of them barely qualify for? Simple. Watch what he risks. Every genuine move toward attraction carries some kind of risk. Of rejection, of embarrassment, of breaking the fragile little shell of emotional safety he's spent his entire life constructing. A man who likes you will risk something. It might be small, An invitation, a suggestive joke, a moment of vulnerability. But it will be there. And a man who's only being nice will never risk anything. He'll stay perfectly padded, perfectly insulated, perfectly invisible. I once watched a man spend 6 months being nice to a woman he adored. 6 months of holding doors, sending memes, carrying boxes for her, complimenting her outfits, asking about her day. 6 months of being her personal, emotional butler. And when she finally asked him, genuinely confused, if he liked her, the panic in his face was biblical. He said no, of course. He didn't want to lose access to her by admitting anything real. That's how simps operate. They think proximity is power. They think patience is a strategy. They think that if they orbit long enough, eventually the sun will get bored and choose the planet. It's tragic, really. Tragic in the way watching a hamster drown is tragic. You almost want to help, but you also recognize that nature has spoken. You, however, you're not here to be confused. You're here to decode the truth. And the truth is that niceness is neutral. Niceness is cheap. Niceness is the currency of men who don't know how to be anything else. What you want to see is intent. A man who likes you will drop hints of his intent even if he's terrified. He can't help it. Desire leaks out. It stains the floor. And if you know how to read it, you'll see it everywhere. Now here's where it gets interesting. Some women, rare, dangerous, beautiful creatures, know exactly how to use a man's niceness against him. I always respected women like that. Women who could take a man's politeness, mold it like clay, and turn it into devotion, gifts, favors, opportunities. Women who understood that if a man refuses to state his intentions, she is fully free to define them. That's power. That's strategy. That's art. But that's not most women. Most women are too busy trying to interpret niceness as a language, as if every word is a clue and every gesture is a secret message. They treat kindness like it's Morse code tapped on the bars of a prison cell. Did he open the door because he likes me, or because his mother raised him right? Neither. He opened the door because he didn't want to look like a jerk. That's it. That's the whole mystery. Congratulations, you've solved it. But don't worry, I'm not here only to mock the confusion. I'm here to sharpen you, to turn you into the kind of woman who doesn't wonder whether he likes you, but instead watches men reveal themselves like flowers opening under a heat lamp. A man who likes you reveals himself in moments, not gestures. In the way he looks at you when you're not looking. In the tension in his voice when he talks to you. In the awkwardness that slips into his usually steady demeanor. In the way he tries, poorly, to hide the fact that he cares. Niceness has smooth edges. Attraction has sharp ones. And let me tell you something else. A man who likes you will make room for you in his life. Not in some grand romantic way. Not with flowers or poems or declarations that would make any sane person gag. Number. He makes space in the small, subtle corners. The text that's sent earlier than usual. The invitation slipped into conversation. The plans that suddenly include you. When a man is truly interested, you don't feel like an accessory. You feel like a priority he's trying to downplay. And if you see none of that, if all you see is niceness, pleasant, convenient, safe niceness, then he doesn't like you. He likes the idea of being liked by you. He likes the ego boost. He likes the attention. He likes being the harmless male friend who gets to linger in your orbit like some permanent fixture. That is not affection. That is emotional loitering. Now, before I continue, Let me take a moment to appreciate the absurdity of my life. I went from managing women in the streets, navigating more chaos in a single night than most people face in a decade, to coaching women on love, power, and strategy. If someone had told my younger self that one day women would not only seek my advice but pay for it willingly, I would have laughed so hard my ribs cracked. But here we are. Life is a comedian with a sick sense of humor. Anyway, let's keep pulling the mask off this male niceness charade. Because if you really want to understand whether a man likes you, you have to stop reading what he shows and start reading what he suppresses. Men reveal more in what they try to hide than in what they offer freely. Niceness is performance. But discomfort? Disruption? That's instinct colliding with desire. There's a certain look a man gives a woman he likes. He tries not to, but it breaks through anyway. It's the kind of look he hopes no one notices, especially you. A half-second too long. A hesitation before he looks away. Not because he's uninterested, but because he's too interested. Men who are just being nice don't look at you like that. Their eyes don't betray them. There's no internal war happening behind their pupils. They're calm, safe, pleasant. They're basically well-trained concierge staff. But the men who actually like you, oh, their eyes are traitors. They stage a coup every time you walk by. And speaking of coups, let's talk about the battlefield men create when they're interested. They get weird. Not in a dangerous way. Please. Most men today couldn't be dangerous even if you handed them a weapon and a YouTube tutorial. But, in an off-balance, slightly malfunctioning way, they stumble over words they've said flawlessly for years. They overthink sentences that should be simple. They laugh at jokes that aren't even jokes. That's not niceness. That's attraction punching holes in the hull of their composure. A nice man will behave normally with you. A man who likes you will behave normally with everyone else, and then turn into a glitching NPC the moment you show up. I had a woman once ask me, but what if he's shy? Let me explain something. Shyness doesn't prevent action. Fear does. If he likes you enough, he will push through shyness the same way an addict pushes through shame. Attraction makes brave men reckless and cowardly men imaginative. Even shy men will find ways to show intent. They'll linger. They'll initiate small talk. They'll ask you questions that don't matter to anyone but them. They'll remember things you forgot you told them. They'll position themselves near you in a room without even realizing they're doing it. Niceness doesn't do any of that. Niceness stays in its lane, puts on its blinker, checks its mirrors, and politely asks permission before turning. Let me give you another truth you won't hear from the romantic cheerleaders online. Sometimes a man is nice to you because he wants something, but that something isn't you. Maybe he wants validation. Maybe he wants female attention because it's cheaper than therapy and easier than building a personality. Maybe he wants you as a prop, a social accessory, proof that he's one of the good ones. Men will use niceness the way politicians use promises. Generously, shamelessly, and with no intention of following through. A man who likes you will want you. A man who's just being nice will want what being nice to you gets him. Very different motives. Very different outcomes. And here's the delicious irony. The same women who fall for the I'm just nice routine often overlook the men who actually like them, because those men aren't smooth enough to disguise their interest. The men sweating, stumbling, overcompensating, awkwardly flirting, those are the ones who like you. Meanwhile, the charming, polite, Endlessly helpful guy? He's more neutral than Switzerland during a world war. But women get confused because society sells them a fantasy that men who are polite are secretly knights in disguise. No. Real knights embarrass themselves. Real knights show hunger. Real knights take risks. What you're mistaking for romantic tension is usually just social politeness wrapped in a fragile male ego. Let me give you one of the cleanest tells in the entire game. A man who likes you becomes territorial, even if he tries to hide it. I'm not talking toxic caveman, chest-beating nonsense. I mean subtle changes. He notices other men around you. He shifts closer. He inserts himself into conversations he wasn't invited into. He suddenly becomes interested in topics he doesn't care about, just to stay near you. That's not niceness. That's instinct, raw and unfiltered. A man who's just being nice, he won't care. He'll practically hand you to another man with a smile because his emotional investment in you is equivalent to the calories he'd burn opening a door. Another tell, investment. A man who likes you invests time, thought, effort. He remembers your schedule. He asks follow-up questions. He recalls little details about your preferences, your habits, your dislikes. And not because he's trying to manipulate you. Most men aren't bright enough to pull off manipulation successfully. But because he genuinely cares. Attraction sharpens his memory. A man who's only being nice won't remember a damn thing. You could tell him your birthday, your favorite childhood story, and the name of your dead hamster, and he'll forget all three before he finishes his coffee. Do you want to know the biggest secret? The truth that slices through all the confusion? Here it is. Men are simple until they like you. Then they become complicated, contradictory, and completely ridiculous. Niceness is the baseline. Attraction is the disruption. If he's not disrupted, he's not interested. And yes, I admire the women who understand that. The women who know how to read male fragility, the way a conductor reads music. Women who can sense attraction from the slightest tremble of a man's voice. Women who know how to use male niceness without becoming dependent on it. Women who don't waste time deciphering mixed signals because they know a man's true feelings aren't mixed. They're just poorly expressed. Those women are the players, the strategists, the ones who don't get stuck in the purgatory of, I don't know what this means. They already know what it means. They just decide how to use it. But I'll tell you what frustrates me. Women who cling to illusions because they're afraid of the truth. Women who convince themselves that niceness is proof of affection because the alternative scares them. They don't want to accept that the man who's been orbiting them for years feels nothing deeper than convenience. They don't want to accept that the man who flirts awkwardly is the one who actually wants them. They don't want to accept that sometimes the man they want doesn't want them back. So they twist niceness into a fantasy where they are desired, chosen, pursued. That's not love. That's delusion. And delusion is the enemy of power. When I coach women, which again is still absurd to me, I teach them one thing above all. Never negotiate with uncertainty. If a man's intentions are unclear, assume he's uninterested until he proves otherwise. This protects your dignity, your time, and your emotional energy. You're not a detective. You're not an investigator. If you have to interrogate his behavior, he's already told you everything you need to know. Because when a man likes a woman, he doesn't communicate in riddles. He communicates in action. He moves toward her the way thirsty men move toward water. Even if he's shy, even if he's scared, even if he's clumsy, he moves. If he's not moving, he's not interested. And I'll leave you with this final punch to the gut. Sometimes a man who's just being nice is actually protecting you because he knows he's not emotionally available, or he's not ready, or he doesn't want to hurt you, or he knows he'd waste your time. So he keeps things friendly, calm, light, uncomplicated. A man who likes you complicates things. A man who's neutral simplifies them. Now, if you made it this far, I'm shocked, pleasantly shocked, that my life took the turn where women listen to me for relationship advice. If you told the younger version of me, the one standing on cold nights managing chaos, that I'd be here teaching women how to navigate men, he would have stared at you like you'd lost your mind. Yet here I am. Life's a cosmic joke, and apparently, I'm the punchline. If you like this breakdown, subscribe. Trust me, the next videos go even deeper into the psychology of desire and power. And before you leave, drop a comment and tell me this. What's the most confusing nice behavior a man has ever shown you? And what do you think it really meant? I'll see you in the next one.